Hi everyone, so today Nanki and I are going to be presenting about Australia and its endemic species. And since I went there for exchange as well, so I wanted to choose this country because I saw a lot of animals that I didn't see anywhere else. So let's start.
The three endemic species we chose in Australia are the red kangaroo, koalas, and platypus. So the main species we are going to talk about is the koala, which is scientifically called Phascolectus cinereus. Phascolectus means pouch bear, and cinereus means ashy gray color.
Alright, so let's begin with the habitat and distribution of koalas. So they live in open forest areas and woodland communities with higher densities where fruit trees are actually growing on more fertile soils and along watercourses. And the habitats that they live in are partially cleared, and they also live in urban areas. So koalas are distributed amongst Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and also a small area in South Australia. Alright, so before we move on to the characteristics and physical appearance of koalas, let's look at why koalas are actually best suited for Australia and not any other continent. So, for some background information, koalas probably first evolved on the Australian continent during the period when Australia actually began to drift slowly northward and gradually separating from the Antarctic landmass. So, as the climate changed, Australia became drier and vegetation evolved. So, for example, the eucalyptus plant. This became koala's food source. So basically, koalas can actually live anywhere if you give them the right climate, the right food, and you keep them protected from diseases. But the problem is that koalas, they only eat one or two species of the eucalyptus plant, and this is only found in the regions of Australia. And more than that, they also have a frightening tendency to actually drop dead as soon as they are stressed. So you can't really make difficult choices or move them around too much. And also, to add on, koalas can't swim, so being an isolated continent in Australia, they can't really go anywhere unless you take them there. But yeah, like I said, the main reason is that their food source is only found in Australia.
Now, moving on to the physical appearance and senses. Koalas have large round head, big furry ears, and big black nose. Their fur is gray-brown in color, with white fur on the chest, inner arm, ears, and bottom. They have no fur on their nose or the palm of their paws. They have hard bottoms, which allows them to wedge comfortably in tree forks for a long period of time. They have poor vision, so they rely on their other senses. They also have an excellent hearing, which helps them detect other predators and koalas. They have acute sense of smell, which helps them to detect other koalas and their favorite food trees. The male uses a scent gland on his chest to mark trees and attract females by rubbing his chest up and down the trunk. Koalas in Queensland are smaller, lighter in color, and have less fur than those in New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia.
Alright, so lastly, let's move on to the adaptation of koalas. So, as you know, koalas spend most of their time on trees, so they have very strong arms, powerful legs, and sharp claws, which are suitable for climbing trees. And they're actually not that well adapted for walking on the ground, so they tend to walk very slowly. However, when they're disturbed or when they're trying to run away from something, they move at 30 kilometers per hour. And they also have two opposable thumbs on their forepaws, which creates better grip for climbing smooth bark gum trees. And lastly, they leave behind characteristic scratches in the bark when they're climbing. So that's visible until the bark is shed every year. So like that, you know how frequently koalas use that particular tree. So, so that's all
Yes.
for our presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.